I was on the phone with my dad yesterday and he was like, how are you? How are your friends? Like, how is everybody? Is everyone freaking out about work, layoffs, the economy? And I was like, yeah, no. And he was like, no. And he was like, things are really bad. Like, they're going to get worse. And I was like, I know. What do we do? And he was like, well, yeah, I mean, it just, like, as long as you guys know. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, like, my generation is fully aware, as like my company literally just did like our 8th round of layoffs in 2 years this morning. Like, I'm pretty sure we're all fully aware of just how bad things are and how bad things have gotten. Like, literally this year alone, this is my company's like 4th round.
Isn't that a little concerning to work at a place that's constantly going through layoffs? Like she said, a lot of her peers already kind of know that this is a normal thing. But I don't know, working with a company that's constantly laying off their employees just seems very insecure. It just doesn't feel very good. But these things happen, especially when they get great ideas to cut costs or introduce new innovations. But it doesn't really help those that are working in these roles
of layoffs. So yeah, it's pretty obvious like how bad things are getting in the American economy. No surprise. And yeah, my dad's like, so you guys, like, how's everyone feeling? Is everybody freaking out? And I'm like, I feel like my generation is past the point of freaking out because we've lived through so much shit that we're just like, what are we supposed to do? We literally like can't stop our companies from laying people off. We do our best to get into other markets, but like every single industry is dying right now. Like, I work in public health. The Trump administration's cut mostly all of our funding for all of our programs this year, hence all the layoffs. I have friends who work in like housing commission and try to help homeless people. They have had insane mass layoffs. They're asking for people to literally like voluntarily furlough right now. I have friends who work in the UC school system that have gone through layoffs. I have friends who work in big tech, AI, Google, NVIDIA, Microsoft, who have been laid off. So like there's literally not a single industry right now that's not being affected. And it's like, what can we do? Like, I don't know. Someone want to let me know what we can do? Like, my idea was like not electing this administration to make things worse, but that's already out the window. So like at this point, what do we do? Sincerely, a millennial who's been dealing with this shit her entire life.
Yeah, a lot of us millennials have lived through so much. So we are very versatile right now when it comes to the state of the world and the different changes that we see from time to time.
Got laid off yesterday and I'm literally shaking talking about this. I really debated whether or not I was going to even post about this, and I decided ultimately that this was probably a journey that I should share with you guys, especially because of the macroeconomic environment right now. There are a lot of layoffs happening, so if you have gone through a layoff recently, I'm right there with you. Majority of yesterday to obviously process what had happened, especially because it came out of nowhere. Absolutely no warning was provided. A meeting was just put on my calendar the day of for 3:30, and my manager and HR hopped on the call and they literally said, we're gonna have to let you go. We're tightening some things up.
That's a common theme for so many people talking about their layoff story, that there was like just this random meeting that was added to their calendar, and it had to do with their boss and HR. And the fact that it just comes out of nowhere is so frustrating, especially when you consider, for example, if you decided that you wanted to up and leave that job, well, they tell you that you're supposed to give them 2 weeks notice. And let me tell you, 2 weeks is such a long time when you know that you are leaving. They're looking for that courtesy to be given to them, that 2 weeks notice, so that they have time to fill that spot. But they're not giving you that same courtesy to understand how to organize your finances, because this is such a huge life shift. Some people have families that are depending on this paycheck. So nobody's sitting here doing these jobs for fun. This is work. This is finance. This is income for people's households. So I just hate the fact that these jobs are just doing these layoffs at like out of nowhere, where I'm sure that they had an entire time to think this through, to go through their budget and find what works from what doesn't work, and maybe draft an entire plan moving forward. If you have time to think of a plan and how you're going to execute that plan to better your business, well, why not give people time? Why do you just dramatically just drop the ball on them and it's just effective immediately? Like, that's not courtesy. A lot of these companies say that they're family oriented, but in true reality, you're just another paycheck that they have to pay each month. And the most expensive expense for businesses, for companies, is usually their employees. They have to pay you a salary, maybe hourly rates. You know, the healthcare and medical and insurance programs, those are very expensive for businesses. So if they could eliminate people and replace them with robots, as we're seeing right now, robots and AI, they would absolutely do that. You don't have to pay AI to work. AI can be done. Maybe you might pay for a subscription service, but in reality, it's way less than paying out hundreds of thousands of dollars to human beings, right? So it just goes back to the point that I'm trying to make, that I hate that these companies are not giving as much courtesy as they're requesting from their workers.
Surprisingly, I did not cry. It was obviously very disappointing, but honestly, I had felt like I was not in the right place for the majority of the past year that I had been in this job, but I had been pretty much trying to force it, and I think the universe was definitely just saying, Grace, it is time for you to move on. I also definitely had an identity crisis.
And a whole entire year to fake it? Whoo, I can't do it. I just get frustrated quickly, and it's like I have to make a quick decision now. I can't stay here. I got to go now. So for her to hold it down for an entire year and fake it, she probably was getting paid really well. So that's a reason to fake it, especially if, you know, your finances depend on it, your lifestyle depends on it. But a lot of people are also mentioning that these federal layoffs are a blessing in disguise because people have been in a rut for a while. So it's kind of like a shakeup, kind of like what we noticed back 5 years ago in the Panini, where people started to rethink their life decisions and the trajectory of their lives and realize, you know what, I really wasn't happy doing X job. So I really want to do this. I really want to run after and chase this career path or this.
If you guys know me, you know that I take a lot of pride and joy in my ability to be a really hard worker and a good worker as well. In the company that I was at previous to this company, I was a top performer. I literally closed 100% of my deals. Like, a big part of my identity, it does lie in being really good at my job. And I'm realizing that that's probably something that I should work to take out of my identity, because at the end of the day, we are so much more than our jobs. There is a saying that basically says, if a flower is not blooming, you don't change the flower, you move the environment that it's in. And I think the reason that I'm able to take this so calmly is because I know that...
And that's so real, that our identity is so attached to what we do. And the more success that we gain in that particular role, the accolades that we receive from our coworkers, our boss, and the more time that's invested, we have a sense of pride. And it's normal. Like, we should have a sense of pride in our work, but little by little, our identity could get wrapped up in that. And then when it's all taken away, you're left trying to figure out, okay, who am I now? Now that I'm not working at that company that I tied my identity to, or I'm not working this particular role anymore, what am I? Who am I? And then you realize you're a human being. You're not a human doing. Now you have to rethink who you are at your core. And that is a great place to start to really change the trajectory of your career path. Like, think about it. You know, you realize, I've been climbing this ladder and I don't want to be here. I want to be somewhere else. And so it takes a lot to dismantle and climb down from that ladder because you've put so much of yourself into it.
Something really amazing is about to come my way. I think that if something similar has happened to you, it's really important right now for you not to take this personally. It is not your fault if a company is not able to effectively manage their finances or has overhired or any other issues that ultimately trickle down to you being let go from the company. And I think that this is an important lesson that all of us are learning this year. And I'm definitely seeing a trend in all types of employees taking a lot of ownership in maintaining work-life balance and making sure that their job doesn't take up a majority of their life, which I personally love. If you guys have been following me in the past 2 months, you know that I have been taking a lot of intentional action to make sure that I'm building a consistent and disciplined lifestyle that aligns with the type of woman that I want to be. And this was just another aligned action that I unfortunately was not expecting at all to come my way. But I guess now I can look at it as a pleasant surprise. When something like this happens in your life and it makes you feel like you have officially hit rock bottom, you have a pivotal choice to make in this type of moment. You have the ability and the freedom in this moment to make a choice that comes next that will put you either in the right direction that you're supposed to go or keep you stagnant. I know I'm personally taking the next few days to really reflect on what I want for the rest of my life and make sure that whatever opportunity I take next really aligns with what I know I'm supposed to do. I'm really excited to see what comes next. I actually already have a couple of opportunities lined up, which I'm super grateful for, but I definitely want to make sure that I'm making the right decision for whatever comes next, because this past decision that I made obviously was not the best one that I should have taken on, but we live and we learn, and I'm super excited because I feel like the world is my oyster at this point. Like, I have the freedom to be able to make a really, really important decision, and that's not something that I'm taking lightly in any way. I will be sharing about this process because I think that it helps to be able to
Sometimes the way things work, for me, I believe in God. So sometimes I believe that God will shake you up so that you can leave that job that he's been telling you to leave for some time now, or he's been trying to get you to pivot and go somewhere else. But if everything were, normal and there were no layoffs, then there would be no opportunity for some of us to move into something different. Sometimes you have to be uncomfortable and get that ground shaken from underneath you in order for you to make that move to where you really need to be in your life. So sometimes these layoffs could be blessings in disguise. I do know that there are so many factors tied, finances, when you have kids, healthcare, and so forth. But sometimes these things need to happen for some of us in order for us to finally say, you know what, I gotta go. Some of us will not leave until that ground is shaken from underneath us.
I got laid off today from my corporate America job. You know, that thing that they say you should have to be able to be stable in life, have it all together, the white picket fence. Not that stable, turns out. That's why I look like this on a random Tuesday. Been crying all morning. It's fine. I'm just like, should I even be recording this video? I've not talked to all of I've called my parents. I've talked to a number of my friends, but not all of them. You know what this has taught me? Is that more so than ever, you gotta look out for you. You gotta look out for number one. And I just feel like ain't nobody I can count on better than myself, So I think I'm going to count on myself, and I'm going to try something new. So for the next 6 months, I'm going to try to make a post every single day and just document life after corporate America, because I don't know what's next. And I wish I did, but I don't. And I feel like these are the types of accounts that I enjoy following when you just really don't know what the hell's going on.
I just got laid off for the second time in my life. The first time, I think it was my fault. I had a little bit of attitude when I was really young. But this time it was a workforce reduction. And what I gathered from learning both times of being let go is that if you don't have your own income or something you own, or you aren't investing your money smartly to where you're protecting your future, and you're letting a company just pay you every single week, and you just blindly take the money and you think life is good, you're eventually going to be, luckily for me, I have enough savings to eat the L for maybe, I don't know, at least a year or two. But imagine if I didn't, and I had just expected this job to keep paying me. And I was doing really well for the company, actually. I was hitting all my numbers, doing great. Never had a write-up or anything. But we got a new manager, and he felt like he had to let someone go, and it's probably me. So if you are ever in this situation, or you think that if you get let go, it would affect you financially seriously, you need to find additional sources of income, or you have to have a investment portfolio, that has been compounding that you can fall back on. And if you don't have either of those two things, then you're basically just living life on the edge.
Not crazy. Living life on the edge is having a job. But in this climate, you need extra sources of income. You need something of your own to fall back on, and at least that will give you the stability that you need when things shift like this economy right now. So that's why I talk about side hustles and learning how to create your very own small business, because it does take time, it does take patience, but it's so worth it when you can look back and say that, hey, this is something that I built and it sustains itself because I work it. So as we can see, these layoffs are not stopping anytime soon. They have hit so many different industries, from tech, media, finance, retail, energy, and even manufacturing fields. And so I was really curious to know, okay, approximately how many layoffs have we experienced this year alone in 2025? And I put it into Google and I received an answer here. So as of October 2025, more than 800,000 job cuts have been announced in the US, which is a 75% increase compared to the last same period in 2024. That is huge. 75% increase is huge. And that's a lot of people that are out of work right now having to figure out what their next move is. A lot of people who went to school, they spent money on degrees, went into debt to get degrees, and these degrees are now being brought to nothing with the introduction of AI. And according to Business Insider, these layoffs are going to continue in 2025. So some tips for this layoff season, and I know that it might seem a little, we've heard this already, but I would say as much as you can, build an emergency fund. We've heard this for years now, that it's important to have an emergency fund. A lot of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. And so it's very important, especially in times like this, to have some savings to pull from, so that you have something, a little cushion in between, especially if you have a family and you've got a lot of expenses. So try your best, even if it's just a few dollars each month, to set aside. And experts say that you should have at least 3 times your current expenses put away into your emergency fund. Another tip that I see online is to update your resume and your LinkedIn. And I know that just sounds so annoying, especially in this time, because there's so much competition that a resume and a LinkedIn profile doesn't even seem like it has much value. But I would still recommend updating your resume and at least tweaking your LinkedIn profile, adding new prospects, new connections every now and then, just to keep yourself fresh when it comes to your career. And don't forget to build on your skill set. I know that this is also another piece of advice that just sounds like, oh, whatever. But it's true. You need to keep on top of your skill set, learn some skills that function with AI so that you could always stay, so that you could always be an asset in these workplaces that are introducing AI. So add AI to your resume, take some classes where AI is introduced, and learn with the flow of things rather than, getting outsourced because of the robots, right? So these are just pieces of advice that I wanted to share with you guys for the end of this video. So are you worried about your job? Has your job recently gone through layoffs? Let us know down below so that we could support you. So thank you so much for watching this video, and make sure that you're subscribed to see the next part of the series. Share this with a friend to maybe encourage them, let them know that they are not alone, and we will chat down below in the comment section. I'm down there with you guys, and we will see each other in the next video.